It's usually recruiting. Are there any holes in the management team? Are there any key partnerships that we might be able to help them think through? Are they thinking through product strategy correctly, or at least know where the pivot points and the decision gates are, that sort of thing?
Tim says, hey, Bing, you cover Michigan, I'll cover Asia.
So Bing, you have said we're in the golden age of gaming, but I guess not everybody's sort of universally happy yet. Zynga has gone up, but it's also gone down. So where are we in collecting all of the gold?
Let's see, I think, there's the most important goal is still time. And if you'd have told me in the 80s that 20 years later, or 25 years later, 70% of Americans are going to be gaming every month, I would have thought that was crazy. So in the 80s, even into the 90s, in the 80s, you could play every great game and still have half a year off. You finish every great game. In the 90s, you could finish every great game in a category. For the last 13 years, you can't play all the great games. So the quality keeps impressing and improving. And the dough, I think game makers are increasing their rate of total gross national product faster than any other creative industry. I got a first-hand view of writers. I believe that creators in general are going to keep making money, but they have to change their job. Keep making money while the distributors and publishers get creamed. I think game making is the new MBA. So if you have any friends thinking about getting an MBA, tell them to go to Carnegie Mellon or USC instead. Way more valuable. And you have better out of the walls.
Yeah, there are some folks starting accelerators or incubators out there now, and the primary kinds of people they're recruiting are game developers because they've sort of proven themselves on the app stores. And then they want to sort of take them and take them into new territories. Right?
Well, I think any game maker, any designer, game product person willing to put on half a three-piece suit could find a way into every Fortune 500 company in America. I don't think you can run a consumer-facing company these days without having game competence.
Is this sort of a gamification of everything else, or what do you call this?
Well, there's skill sets and competencies that come from game design that are applicable to every business, whether it's analytics, behavioral analysis, freemium conversion, optimization, all these things which will be the new core competencies, I think, in every Fortune 500 company. Today we've needed developers, next up was designers. I predict in 5 years, every company will be looking for, habit engineers or behavioral designers or things like that. And such a thing doesn't exist today. Where would you find them? Probably next game.
Habit engineers is kind of a cool meaning. It sounds like bad science fiction. Mom, I took a new job. I'm a habit engineer.
Behavioral designer.
So Tim, you invested in Badgeville, and I think you didn't. I guess you guys are not always in sync. Do you share, say, the same views on gamification?
Well, a lot of deals do allow for syndication, but most deals these days actually don't, because entrepreneurs don't want to, give up enough dilution to allow 2 VCs into a round. So there'll be a lot of times where we do single-handed deals. We actually generally tend to prefer to syndications. We like more brains around the table. But that was one where there was only room for one VC, but it was just a, guy I'd known from before.
Yeah, I met Chris along the way as well. I like him. There's, you got to pick your moments in time. I think when that was happening, I wasn't answering the phone a lot. But Tim and I have shared notes on other likely prospects, some of which neither of us have gotten involved in, some of which one of us got involved in. But he's high on the automatic call list.
Yeah. I think there's not that many of us who I think focus in this area and have all expertise in it. So it's nice to go collaborate with people.
I call up and say, Tim, if I let me invest you this, can I sing a solo?
So maybe we could level up a bit and talk about the future of gaming. What do you think the game business is going to look like 5 years from now?
I think 5 years from now, 10% of Westerners are going to be wearing some kind of augmented reality glasses. Pretty sure it's not going to be Google Glass 1.0. And it probably won't be, Watch 1.0. But, it's getting instant feedback. People can't give instant feedback. There aren't very many people with NFL quarterback skills or with great teaching skills, and machines give instant feedback. It's just, it's too seductive. So I think we're going to see augmented reality of some kind or another. I think it's just too powerful not to get there, especially for a multitasking generation. And I hope we continue to see games designed by designers and not where the design is very separated from the art and infrastructure.
What do you mean by that?
Ryan Reynolds, when he first came over and worked on Frontierville, said, my life as a designer has sucked recently. I build a game and then I wait for the artist and the 3D guys to build it for a year and a half and I have nothing to do. And then I show up at the end and I have something to do again. And that's what I mean. It's great for the designers to be able to, like a playwright in off-Broadway tryouts, to go home and rewrite a few lines every night. Kind of the Saturday Night Living of games.
So what do you think about the future?
There's a few angles I've been thinking about. One is, I think, in line with what Dave's saying, we're going to have reality augmented, and we'll also have alternative realities, which I think wearables and all these allow you to have. One is sort of alter ego and aspirational life. You wish you had, the Dragon Slaying Hero and kind of things, and consistent games as a multi-platform. The other is take your real life and gamify it, make it more interesting. So I've kind of got this acronym, but I think there's sort of 5 areas that game mechanics can help you, plan your life, simulate alternative futures, help you even with self-development of your life across, I call it spikes, but the spiritual aspect, the intellectual aspect, the physical aspect of your life, the emotional, and even the communal or social levels, right? These are all areas that could be gamified or improved, or that you could, think of yourself like a real life sim. If you had a dashboard for yourself in these different dimensions, like how would you want to improve?
I'm wearing my up band, so, as we learned in Moneyball, you just need new sensors, new data.
Tim and I have basis bands.
Yeah, that's the one kind of speaking.
So, what is the next $1 billion idea in that list? Can you keep it to yourself?
What's the next one that's going to exit for $1 billion? Somebody's going to, there's going to be a multi-billion-dollar business in a location gaming platform. Let's see. I think the living room is going to get reinvented. We'll see what kind of haptics and body awareness happen. I think that stuff's unpredictable because you never know what people are willing to put on their body. I think the dating apps are a different kind of game with a different kind of scoring system, and they seem to be getting reinvented.
And Tinder is the ultimate social game.
What do you think of the mobile game companies and the valuations they're getting now? Do you think they're going to get hit by gravity?
Everything's going to get hit by gravity. Gravity sucks. In a hits business, I've been involved with hits. When you have a hit, you just can't help but believe that you deserved it, and the next thing is going to be as good or better. If you grow up in America, you kind of think America deserved it. And America 2.0 might be like a Hollywood sequel that does 50% worse. So all hits have a tendency to revert to the mean. And the other thing is, the way you do this a long time, most people who have one creative success don't have a second. They get changed, they get lazy, they buy a house and they go to the pub, and they buy a convertible. So success usually predicts reversion to mean.
Yeah, I think that's right, especially if you're living on other people's distribution platforms. I mean, we've always had the hope that if you're creating franchises, maybe you can kind of create new distribution power along the way. It's not always the case, but wouldn't it be nice if you're creating not just a movie, but you have to own the theater chains as well? That's always the hope on the new platform side, but that's a very rare case.
I'd say on that, my experience with creators is your first success, you tend to create for your success, for yourself. And then the second time, you know, it turns out now you're rich and famous, and there are many people like that. So creating just for the rich and famous doesn't work much unless you're Robin Leach. So to sequel your success, you have to start having empathy for other people. And just as you're emerging as a rich celebrity, it's not a great time to learn empathy. So there it's really important to have friends who beat the shit
What
out
if
of
the
you.
audience is having this experience that I am where, you know, Bing speaks really slowly and Tim speaks really fast. And after each one says something, I have to sort of think for about a minute. I understand what's happened. So it's very interesting sitting up here. That's why I'm not asking very many questions.
Question now, you will.
So, Bing, you watched, I guess, the console industry evolve over decades here, and you sort of set up a bunch of rules for the, I guess, each generation. You know, things that happen, like say, most of the consoles sold in a generation are sold at $99 or under. It's kind of a rule, I guess, maybe. What do you think the rules are for this generation? What's happening right now? And I guess I mean a generation of everything, you know, everything related to games.
So I think rules always come, there's marketing rules, there's Moore's Law rules, and there's user behavior rules. So to me, the most important user behavior is ADHD media, you know, short session, interruptible. So an app that you don't think you can complete while you're waiting for the don't walk sign to turn walk, it has trouble. And people under 30 are trying to get more into their 30 free hours a week. So if you build a game that's kind of like going to a movie theater or a full-on immersive game that you play solo, you're fighting an uphill battle. So ADHD consumers, you know, I think mobile everything and taking advantage of all the cool new stuff coming in the pocket mainframes. And then marketing does matter. So whoever's going to spend $100 million trying to create a meme needs to be attended to.
I think that's right. Yeah, and it's great. Designer quote once. He said he used more scatological terms, but he basically said you should optimize for bathroom break length.
So with marketing matters, what's an observation you would make about the PS4 and the Xbox One right now? Xbox One seems to have gone for this advertising the broader entertainment value of the system, justifying the higher price too. Whereas PS4 has been about games.
So, you know, so I lived through watching the 3DO try to be the Be Everything box at a high price. Sometimes history repeats, sometimes it doesn't. I think the watchers don't get the importance of Xbox Live. I think Xbox Live is one of the most important consumer inventions of the last 15 years. I think iTunes in the App Store is another equally earth-shattering invention. And I think once you get a profile and badges and gamer score and achievements, you know, you just don't change. So I think the network effect trumps all, and you know, we'll see. You know, we've seen incumbents grasp defeat from the jaws of victory before. And I think Microsoft has maybe lost its secret weapon. But, you know, having 80 million people who respect what you've achieved is hard to give up. I don't know, I kept paying Blizzard a couple of years without, I can't even remember how to get into my WoW account. And they got money from me for 2 years, even after the thing got hacked and ripped off about 5 times. So, and I think Xbox Live is a more valuable set of assets than my Blizzard account.
Yeah, I think that's right. It might help you stay above gravity for a little bit. It's if you can really have a game as a service or a device as a service. And as a service player is nice because people, we often get lazy. We forget to cancel accounts or they just auto-renew and we keep rolling into each other. And, one of my companies, Lumosity, is doing really well with the subscription model that way. Brain training is really not.
Does anybody have a question in the audience for Bing or Tim? Both of them? Got room for one question.
The traditional, I'm so loud already. The traditional game console things, now that's still a huge market comparing to the mobile game. You talk about all the in-app purchase and advertising, it's still much smaller on the mobile or tablet. However, the game console, as you know, it's a humongous market. What do you think the transition from the current state of art of the game console transition into and so how it's blended into the mobile world?
No, I would say I think the newspaper business predicts the future of the packaged goods video game business. I built a business with paper, trucks, and return rates. And, you know, it's hard to own the New York Times building when most of your assets are in printing presses and trucks. So again, it's kind of shorting atoms. The game makers will survive, and I think publishing and distribution models tend to be appropriate for moments in time. And I think it's no surprise that kind of the next generation taking over traditional packaged goods businesses have no allegiance to retailers and trucks and manufacturing plants.
People demand the kind of conferences that are different. Hardcore players will not want to play that kind of games on your iPhone or tablet,
No, I'm not really sure. Because
right?
when I
They're the one who pay a lot of money to buy games. I mean, come on, let's face it.
Well,
The game